Thank you for volunteering to do the pledge. All right.
You're up. And then Johnny stepping aside so you're being substituted. What? You need to explain yourself. I mean, you ain't handicapped. Let's see you in the morning. I'm serious. One more.
Are you still connected on there? My meter.
That's the only word I can say. I don't even need this really. You might have to spread out a little.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is the special called County Commission meeting, and we are having some technical issues, but if he has fixtures, go ahead and mark yourself present. But based on the room, we do have a quorum. And so what we'll do is just run through this, and he'll continue to work on your stations while we do this. So first, we will have a prayer led by Commissioner Palmer, and then we will have our pledge led by Circuit Court Clerk Rex Lynch. So if you'll please rise.
If you will, pray with me, please. Father, it is with great humility and honor that we come into your presence. I pray that you would fill us with your peace, a peace that only comes from you. And Father, I pray for peace in our world. Would you protect our troops and protect our country from those evil forces that may wish to hurt us. And Father, I pray that you would give great wisdom and great discernment to those that are in leadership. Father, protect our families, protect our county, Anderson County. And God, we know you as provider, and we ask that you would provide for our needs, not only safety, but you would provide for our financial, emotional, all of the needs that we have. Father, I pray that you would help us. And so tonight, as we make decisions, as we ask questions, as we do the business of the county, and we take care of this money that does not belong to us, we're just the caretakers. I pray that you would give us great wisdom and discernment in making good decisions that would be pleasing in your sight and would be beneficial to our people. And it's the name of Jesus Christ that I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you so much. And I should have mentioned this prior to the prayer, but keep Commissioner Smallridge in your thoughts and prayers. He had a little bit of a fall on vacation, and so he's just battling with some injuries there, and was unable to make it tonight. So just keep him in your thoughts and prayers. All right, we will move on to appearance of citizens. This is a section of our agenda that citizens can address us on issues that are on or not on the agenda. You have 3 minutes. Commissioner Foster will keep up the time and give you a 30-second deadline. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to address County Commission? All right, seeing none, we will move on. Now to the reason why we are here is to hopefully pass the fiscal year 25 and 26 budget. Robbie, and I don't know how you want to do this, but if there are some of the other budgets that we could maybe just, if we haven't already, just knock out, get it out of the way, and focus on the ones that may require some discussion, Didn't know if
Okay.
that would be something you'd want to do, or?
Or could I just make a couple comments really quick?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Thank
Floor is
you.
yours.
Okay, before we get started, I just wanted to address the certified tax rate situation. Right now, the finance department nor the property assessor are comfortable, as of today, asking for approval for the tax rate. Mr. Alley is still continuing to address appeals, and so I'm not comfortable approving the budget without, if you're not comfortable approving a budget without a certified tax rate, then we should probably wait until July maybe for approval. But the comptroller's office gives a lot of direction on this. We don't have to have a certified tax rate to approve a budget, because we're not asking for an increase in the certified tax rate. We're asking, as far as I know, your intention is to keep the certified tax rate with how it comes in. To do an increase, we'd have to have a public hearing, and there's a lot more involved with that, which that can happen, but I don't think that was the intent of this commission. Anyway, I know there's been some discussion and some concern about the certified tax rate, and there are some, if we do approve a budget, we're putting last year's revenue in the budget for tax collections for this year, so the intent of a certified tax rate is not to, it's revenue neutral, so we aren't collecting any more revenue than we did last year, except for new growth. And and all we have to do is, when we submit the budget to the state, is the steps provided by the State Board of Equalization for adoption of the tax rate. You just include that you intend to adopt the certified tax rate at a later date, and that we can include the revenues that we put in the budget, and that's basically it. We're including the budget appropriation resolution as the main document that needs to be approved today for the budgets that we have, that the Budget Committee has approved in the budget process. So I just wanted to, I know there might be some questions about that, and
We do have one. If Commissioner Isbell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'm not in favor of voting for any budget until we have a certified tax rate, and I'll tell you some of the reasons why. Is because we're showing, at the way I understand it, it's coming up with a deficit now from the way that the budget, if it's approved. But with growth, and I've talked to the property assessor and Billy about this over the last couple of months. Let's take, for instance, $5 million in growth, okay? And I think that's a reasonable number. It's probably going to be more, but we're not going to know until all the meetings have been done about where people come in and want it lowered. But 5 million is probably a pretty good number, all right? And we don't know how much of it is 40% or how much is 25%. But if we take 25% of the 5 million, that gives us 1.25 million coming into the county, which is how many pennies. And I mean, this is speculative because we don't know exactly what the tax rate's going to be. But if you got that coming in, because we've got other requests, you know, from the sheriff's department and whatever, but we're working on how much money we had before. But if we got this much growth come in, what can we actually do? Can we give money back to the taxpayers? Can we do some of the other things that, you know, that's been asked? But that's what I'm waiting on. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Robbie?
I don't really have a comment. Mr. Rowley might, but I mean, we're not comfortable with the certified tax rate that we have been, the preliminary rate. It's not been approved yet, and the numbers I saw today didn't really add up. But it's still not a certified tax rate, not till we sign off on it, the mayor and the property assessor, and the city managers as well, or the city leaders also have to sign off on that. But growth, that much growth, we do get new revenue for growth, but keep in mind too, with the ratio, we've lost $3 to $4 million in the tax rate the last 5 years anyway. So we're playing catch up as it is right now. And so I don't think any kind of growth is going to help that much, personally. That's just my opinion.
So do you think we can move forward tonight? Because I kind of,
I'm completely comfortable. Unless your intent is to raise the certified tax rate, then I don't see any reason why we cannot proceed with a budget being passed tonight. The state's recommendation, here's their conclusion on the paperwork they sent out. Timely budget adoption is key to good financial management, and This publication is meant to facilitate timely budget adoption in reappraisal years when the CTR is delayed beyond June 30th. The budget should be adopted before the start of the fiscal year and submitted to the Comptroller's Division of Local Government Finance within 15 days of adoption. In a reappraisal year, the property tax rate should be adopted as soon as possible after receiving the CTR from the State Board of Equalization. This may result in local governments submitting the tax rate adoption separately from and later than the initial budget submission. Please note that this will not adversely impact local governments that pursue the Comptroller's annual budget certificate. But yes, they wrote 3 pages of this to pass. So governments, this is not the first time this has happened, obviously. So
Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So do we know what, since we don't have the certified rate, do we have any way of knowing what the deficit would be?
well, the deficit that we have calculated currently with the budget that's been passed and the revenue that we have in, which is last year's revenue, if we have growth, then the deficit would be obviously be less, but right now it's $881,647 for the general fund. And if you look at this page that I sent you in your budget packet, there's 2 budgets that are balanced that have a surplus budget. That's drug control and the General Debt Service Fund, Fund 151. The rest have a budget deficit. The budgets as a whole are $2.8 million in deficit. Now, the fund balances help with that in the rollover money that we have each year. So that's why we're able to have, last year was a $1.4 million. This current year we're in was a $1.4 million deficit. So,
But the deficit, so right now it's 881. It can go down if we capture the growth. But
if we
won't
capture
go up.
growth, it should come down some.
It should
yes.
come down, but it definitely won't go up. So it's going to be this much
No,
or
not
less.
unless we add anything to the budget tonight.
Okay.
That's the only possibility of the
Right,
deficit.
if we
going up.
add some, okay.
And Commissioner, you didn't have a motion, right?
Right, that's right, I'm sorry.
Can you retake that motion off the board? Thank you. All right.
That-
Commissioner Allen, really quick. Sorry, Robbie.
No, you're fine. 881,647 for the general fund. The schools have a $358,555 budget
Right.
deficit.
So total, what would that be when you? would
Well,
that
when
be
you
three-
total, each of these funds have a
Oh, the
fund balance
deficit.
to take care of their budget that
Oh,
can,
okay.
can take care of their deficit. So like
we
the
just can't
general
add-
fund's fund balance is, right now it's $10 million. And if we have rollover, which last year it was 2.6 million, now I don't expect rollover to be that much this year because we had a $1.4 million budget deficit. So we automatically were dipping in our rollover money with the deficit, but it will grow some. So it could be like $1 million, $1.5 million. We'll possibly have, I put on here estimated fund equity 12.7. I don't expect it to be that high, but we would still have a fund balance at the end of the year with an $881,000 budget deficit of $11.8 million.
Yeah. So we just can't add up the deficits to find out what the total deficit is.
At the bottom, it shows that, of that report. For each fund, now each fund has a fund balance as well, so.
2,822,000.
2,822,740.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thanks.
All right, is there any other questions for Robbie? Sorry, I know I cut you off before your second comment you wanted to make.
I don't, okay.
Is that it?
I don't remember now. It was something I was talking about Josh's question.
Okay.
And also, and Randy just gave me a little note here, makes a good point. If we do have the new growth is what Commissioner Isabel suggested, then we can always do a budget amendment and make any change in a budget in July, August, any month of the year, which we do all year long. We amend our budgets. That's always a possibility. We don't have to wait to do that.
Okay. Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Robbie, did we passed all of the departments'
Yes.
budgets during budget committee, correct?
That's correct. Every department, the budget committee has passed.
Okay.
We don't come to this level until all the budgets have been passed in the
All
budget
right.
committee.
Then I'd like to make a motion to approve the budgets that passed the budget committee. All of
Which
those
is
budgets.
everything?
Mhm.
All right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Palmer to approve the fiscal year 25-26 budget. seconded by Commissioner Varen. And so, Robert, this is, you're not including any of some of those resolutions, right?
There's only one, the budget appropriation resolution, which we
Okay.
could include that as with the, if you wanted to make that part of the motion as well.
Denise?
Yes,
Okay.
that's fine. Sorry, I was looking for the resolution, sorry.
It's in your packet.
I see it. I was just trying to get to it.
All
That'd be
right.
great.
I feel like there's going to be some amendments here, so I'm getting my notepad out, just in case. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Commissioner Anderson, you recognize.
Thank you. I just want clarification on the appropriations for the fire departments. Are we currently only appropriating for the volunteer?
What we put in the appropriation resolution, if you have that document in your hand, is on page 5 of the appropriation resolution, section 6.1. The volunteer fire departments and the Anderson County Rescue Squad each are receiving $50,000, which is an increase from the 27.5. That has always been only the volunteer fire departments in this
Right.
appropriation
On
resolution.
that resolution.
Contribution, yes, sir.
So the incorporated fire departments they only got the truck resolution, which is
In the
expired.
past, yes, and we don't have one currently.
Is there like a comptroller or some reason why we can't, could we amend this to appropriate 50,000 for the other departments?
Well, this,
the
you
city
can
department?
amend the budget to give them, I don't think it necessarily has to go in the appropriation resolution. The reason that does is the section for nonprofits. The cities are not nonprofits.
Okay, so I didn't know if there was a reason, if we could only pay them a certain way, or we could do it to the rural departments, but we couldn't pay the cities the same way, but it's.
That's the reason we
Nonprofit.
list them there. Any of the,
Okay.
the nonprofits are listed in that section. They always have been, and it's part of the appropriation
Right,
resolution.
I understand. Okay, well, I hadn't been on fire commission long, but I know it seems like that group works really well together, and they seem to want to kind of have everything distributed evenly, and they all benefit from mutual aid. So I guess I would want to amend the budget to go ahead and give $50,000 for the other departments, the incorporated cities. And I know Oliver Springs and Rocky Top and Norris have their cities, but they're volunteer fire departments in practice, I think. So that would be my amendment. We'll just make it 50,000 times 11 departments instead of what we have.
That's 6 additional.
How many cities? 5?
5.
6 and 5.
Yeah.
6 volunteers in 5 cities.
5 cities, yeah. All right. So, Commissioner, will you are you making an amendment?
Yes, I'll
Will you?
I'll amend, yeah.
All right, so we have an amendment to
Well, it's not
the
right.
original motion of adding the municipalities to $50,000 per city
Mhm.
to the budget. And is there a second on this amendment? We have a second by Commissioner Capshaw. Commissioner Beauchamp, I saw your name, but it disappeared. Are you? All right, you're recognized, ma'am.
Robbie, is this gonna come out of the same code?
It's used, the EMA code, we put it in the city, the volunteer fire departments come out of the EMA code. We can put that in the same code, just maybe give it a cost center for cities or,
I don't have it pulled up. How much money do we have in there?
well, we don't have enough. We would have to add this to the budget. This would increase our budget deficit $250,000, so we're now over
So we would need to get that from,
fund balance.
11 times 2.
Yep.
11 times 50. All right. I don't want to cut you off, so
oh, I was done.
Okay. All right, so we still have the motion to amend by Commissioner Anderson, second by Commissioner Capshaw. Is there any other discussion on this amendment? We haven't done this, so if we go to the board and vote, it's only going to vote on the amendment, right? Well, we can always, good news is we can always hit the buttons again. All right. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we're going to go to the board and vote on the amendment, which is adding $50,000 to each municipality fire agency, totaling $250,000. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah,
All
just
right.
one time.
All right. All right. Motion passes. We are now back to the original motion with the addition of the 250,000 for the municipality. So that is the current motion on the floor. Commissioner Beauchamp.
No, not me.
That's weird. I think it probably saved you in the queue for the first one. All right, so we now have a motion we have a motion and a second to support the fiscal year budget of 25-26 with an additional $250,000 for the municipalities. Is there any other amendments or discussion? Commissioner Wandell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have an amendment, but I just had a few questions. Sounds like we can obviously pass the budget based on what the finance director says, but you know, I still have trouble with that. Like Commissioner Isabel, I mean, I don't know how you can set a budget if you don't know what your income's going to be. I guess you can go off last year's, and that's kind of what we're looking at, but I'd be a little bit more interested in having a certified tax rate before we pass the budget, but I'll work with commission however we want to go for it. I'll do whatever. But I guess, Robbie, the question I had, Mr. Chairman, if you allow me,
Yes, sir.
we have this rollover money that comes in every year, and you're kind enough to pull it together for me today. And so the $2,684,934 that rolls over from 2024, are you saying that's already been appropriated or accounted for or spent?
Typically, when money rolls over, it rolls over into the fund balance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we take 20% every year of all rollover money and stick it and move it to that capital outlay fund that's committed from commissions, by commission's vote. I think Mr. McCamey made that motion 4 or 5 years ago, so we've been doing that every year. But and the rest just stays in fund balance. Now, when you have a deficit fund balance, when you have a deficit budget, that money, so when I load the budgets for this year for fund balances with this last motion, we're at 1,181,000. It takes it off the fund balance automatically at the beginning of the year. So it's like it's using rollover as well. And so I take that out of fund balance already.
So the last 10 years, and I added it up, it looks like it's $33,725,068 of rollover funds, averaging $3,372,506 each year, fiscal year. So it's clear to me that based on the last 10 years, we always have rollover funds. I agree with what you're saying. It's the 20% gets set aside for capital outlay. I guess my question is, as we move forward, you know, we have requests from the sheriff's office, we have requests from others. Why can't we set up a program to facilitate the request based off the rollover? It would incentivize, I think, the departments when they do return the funds to if we had something in place, you know, and I'm not an expert on the numbers, but if we did 25%, for instance, to the sheriff's department, or 20% to the volunteer fire department, fire safety, I feel like that would give us an option, because, you know, you said it correctly, it goes into, the remainder goes into undesignated fund balance. Well, it's nice to have a fund balance, but if we're not going to use it, I mean, I get we got to have it just in case, but we've had it just in case for the last 10 years.
Yeah, well, 10 years ago, or how long ago is it, we didn't have a fund balance?
True.
So we're lucky to have it, and honestly, we were at 12 point something at the start of the year. We're at below 10.5 million now, so we do use some of it. And it's And like I said, some has been put in that fund for capital projects, but I always take a look. We don't typically talk about it in budget season, but the capital outlay requests that each department, since I looked at the two big departments, obviously EMS and the Sheriff's Department, and EMA had another 800,000. I counted $3 million in capital outlay requests for next year, for this next fiscal year, without just those three departments.
Let me, if I could, Mr. Chairman, and I'll wrap it up. I'm not here to cause problems. I appreciate you and the Budget Committee and what they do and putting everything together, and I'm going to try to be as supportive as I can, but I didn't bring my iPad, unfortunately. Could you tell me, just kind of a highlight, what is the total budget for the county we're looking at going into 25, 26?
So budgeted expenditures for all funds are $153,065,682.
Okay.
Is that schools too?
That includes schools, the 263 fund, all the debt service funds. This is every fund that was approved in Budget Committee, which is all on this sheet right here that I put in the packet.
I apologize.
No, you're good.
I don't have
I don't
it.
mind.
What does that equal to the property tax rate? I mean, what is that tax rate, certified tax rate on that 153? You're basing it off last year?
We are basing off the revenue received from the tax rate last year.
And that was, the tax rate was?
Was 2.6289. Now, everybody's assessment has increased, so obviously the tax rate's going down, and it's going to be pretty surprising what it is. So, I mean, it's not certified, so I don't really want to discuss it, but I was pretty shocked when I saw it.
Robbie, I appreciate you answering the question. The last question I had is on the veterans budget.
Yes, sir.
We're talking, if I saw it correctly, it was 166,000. Is that right?
I can look it up real quick.
I thought that's what I had in this book, but I may be wrong on that. It may
That's
have
last
changed.
year's book.
Yeah, it is.
I think it went down from that year from last year because of the salaries. And,
So while you're looking, I mean, I'll say this, that I got a report from the Scott Nation Veterans Office today that since May 1st of this year, 2025, to present, there's been an extra $163,000 of only funds that have been reported. So, because he doesn't have the ability to go see who all, that's all back pay, stuff that he was able to help the veterans get to the table. And again, I'll recognize that the Veteran Service Officer does not write the checks. But however, the Veteran Service Officer certainly gets one to the table to get the check. And he's done that successfully. And again, it's $163,000 since May 1st. And I think there's a lot more to come. So I just would ask that we keep that in consideration as we take on the budget. And I personally, I don't think it's fair that we throw the director, basically, of the Veteran Service Office into a pot with everybody, and $1,500 when, you know, I've heard this several times. Well, let's just pass the budget and then come back and ask for it again later. Well, we asked for it 6 months ago. We're told to wait till the budget comes. We did the budget, then we're told no. Now we're being told to wait till the budget passes and then come back and ask again. So, you know, I'm happy to do whatever this body wants to do, but I certainly hope, and it doesn't have to be 20%. I'd be happy if somebody would just say 5%, 10%, but it don't seem we can get to that. But I just hope everyone will take that into consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll try to be quiet the rest of the night.
All right, Commissioner Isbell, you're recognized.
Sorry, I was going to answer. Go ahead.
Yeah,
No, that budget was 166,538 for next year.
coming into this year?
Going into next year. What's been approved so far for next year? 166,538 for the Veterans Service budget.
Would that include the raise?
That includes the $1,500 raise. Yes. Okay, sorry.
Okay, Robbie? The sales tax revenue, what's the percentage of our budget that brings in?
The percentage of our budget that it brings in?
Yeah. Versus, you know, our property tax.
This year, budgeted general fund in this current fiscal year, 2.1 million of revenues that are around over 44 million. So property tax is the main.
Right, I understand that. It's just the last time I come up with a formula, people thought I'd bumped my head, and I think we hit it pretty much on target. But,
It's 4%, 4.7, yeah,
okay.
or so, 40 of the budgeted revenue. And we budgeted 2.1 million. That's, the sales tax has leveled off with how it was increasing. That was part of the reason we had such large rollovers. We were budgeting for sales tax and it was a lot more, and but it's finally leveled off.
Who gets the majority of that sales tax?
The schools, not just our school department, but all the Oak Ridge and Clinton.
Yeah, it's all
schools as well.
divided.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Foster.
Just a quick question on capital fund, what's that balance?
I look
Estimated going in for next year?
4 million, right around 4 million or so. We spent a little of that this year, but we also, of the property sale that we had on the auction, the commission approved to put that money back in, and we haven't, I think we finally have finalized all those sales, Mayor, and I'm gonna move that, I'll be moving that money in June,
Okay.
at the end of the year.
I'll follow back up later.
Yeah.
Thanks.
It shows you, Commissioner Wandell.
I did push a button, I can't, sorry.
No, you're good. This thing is, yeah. All right. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Again, the motion is to pass all budgets with the addition of the new amendment by Commissioner Anderson of $250,000, which would be spread across 5 municipal fire departments of $50,000 each. Commissioner Palmer.
Just a quick question and clarification. So in that resolution, will that need to change since those are not
If that's the only
nonprofit?
change we have, I can run downstairs and make that change in probably 5 minutes. If
Well, no, I'm just saying, will that go somewhere else other than, because that section of the resolution
it will not
is
be
just
in
for
that section, I
nonprofits.
would just put it in the EMA budget.
Okay,
as
gotcha.
a-
All
Because
right,
it's
thank
not
you.
really, if you read the comments or the section header, it's more for nonprofit organizations.
Right.
And I don't think the city's really.
They're not.
Yeah.
Right, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
All right. All right. Good questions. Any other? All right. The board doesn't reflect it, but we do have a motion and a second on, and so it was Commissioner Varon, I believe.
The second,
If you go ahead, thank you, Commissioner. All right. Last chance. And we're going to go to the board and vote on it. All right. We'll go to the board and vote on the new amended budget for, of $250,000 in addition. Yeah, this is just the budget with that amendment.
Mr. Chairman, it's just the budget number, correct? That's all we're voting on.
So we're voting on, the motion is, and the budget appropriation.
Well,
We're not-
that needs to change. If this amendment, I would have to change
Though the
that.
amendment has passed, but if this passes here,
Then yes, the budget, the appropriation resolution would increase by
And
$250,000.
so
Which
we
you
would
could pass
need-
it that way, and I could go down and I could change it and have the mayor and whoever, the chairman sign it. That's up to you guys, or I can bring it back and correct it.
what would be the will of the body as far as the original motion had the appropriation resolution? Now with the amendment, that's going to change because of the addition for the municipal fire departments. Is it, we want to,
Yeah, I mean, it's, the motion, when we made the amendment, all
Yeah.
it is, that's paperwork. I mean, we're
Yeah.
still passing the language that we've amended.
and so we will come back, we hope,
No
in
longer
July
there.
for a
And pass-
certified tax rate.
That's my hope, yes, sir. And it will be in July. We're close. In fact, I worked real hard to have it ready today. I just not ready to.
Commissioner Isbell's right. I mean, but I would say the only thing that can happen from this point forward is that we would experience, it would cut our deficit because we're only capturing the growth, right, Johnny? Other than we have the revenue neutral stuff, but then we're capturing the growth and however that shakes out.
And the appeals could cause some
Right.
to go lower that we have already in there, that if they win their appeal, I guess that's how that works. Correct.
Okay. All right.
But we're about over those too as well.
Okay. All right. So please go to the board and vote. All right. 13 yes, 1 no. Motion carries. All right. That concludes until we come back with a certified tax rate. Is there any? Yeah, I don't know why. Annette, we have a motion to adjourn?
Could I make one announcement?
Yes, go ahead.
I do not expect to have a budget meeting in the first week of July. We don't, the last 2 years we haven't had one. There's not really much reason to amend a budget that just passed. But if I do have anything like a grant or something, I'll just bring it straight to commission, so.
Well, we have a more accurate rollover. I mean, I know it's not.
Usually do not get that till August, but I can give you kind of a ballpark figure.
Can we get as close?
Sure.
All right. All right. No other announcements or questions. We will stand adjourned until July.
Thank you.
Yeah, the city called and did a welfare check on you.